The amount of hero equipment in Clash of Clans can be quite overwhelming, especially with new hero equipment being released on a frequent basis. With the limited amount of ores you can get, it can be quite tough to decide what to upgrade and what not. In this video, I'll rank all 29 hero equipments in Clash of Clans so you know exactly what to use your ores on. With that, hello and welcome to yet another video, and it's very important to differentiate between attack strategies. You can't use each hero equipment with every attack strategy because, well, of course, you have a total of 5 heroes, and some attack strategies will use the Minion Prince, some attack strategies will use the Barbarian King and not the Minion Prince, and some attack strategies might also not use the Archer Queen. I'll try my best to give you the pros and cons for every single hero equipment in Clash of Clans, and also tell you which attack strategies benefit from it and which attack strategies absolutely don't. But just take a look, we have so many hero equipments in Clash of Clans. We have a 29 in total, and even though I play on a daily basis, I do my clan wars, I get my star bonus, I buy an event pass every single time it is in a game, yet I still don't have all of my hero equipments maxed, and a lot of my hero equipments are still suffering from a low level. If you, for example, take a look at the Vampstache, it's still level 1. If you take a look at the new action figure, it's level 21. If you take a look at the snake bracelet, which I would love to have maxed out, I have it on level 11 and I just don't have the starry ores to upgrade it any further. So it is so important to use this resource, the limited resource you have with the ores, as good as possible, and that's exactly why I will be ranking every single one of the hero equipments in this video. I'll make a tier list where I differentiate from useless to insanely good, but of course, just take a look. I still have so many hero equipments I have to level, and even though I buy the event pass every single time and spend so much money in this game, I have no chance of catching up. But talking about spending money in a game, I of course have to tell you, if you're planning on spending money on a game as well by buying an event pass or anything else, make sure that you're always using a credit code to support this channel. Code RHBB would of course be much appreciated. But now let's of course get to what this video is really about, and that is ranking each hero equipment, starting off with the Barbarian Puppet, the first hero equipment you get in Clash of Clans. And I will be ranking each and every hero equipment on a scale from way too strong, pretty strong, quite alright, not too strong, and useless. And I can tell you straight away, the Barbarian Puppet, let's just put it in useless. Let's not mention it too much, it is really not good. You have so many great hero equipments on the Barbarian King and the Barbarian Puppet. Even though it spawns so many raged up barbarians, it's just not any of them. There are so many better hero equipments, especially epic ones, which we will get to a little bit later. Barbarian Puppet, not too good. We put it in last tier, completely useless. Ignore it, don't spend any ores on it. Second on our list is the RH Vial, which is actually quite a decent equipment, which you also instantly get for free if you unlock the Barbarian King. But if we take it into account with the other equipment we can have, it is of course a whole lot better than the Barbarian Puppet, but it is really not as good as, for example, if we take a look at the Snake Bracelet or the Giant Gauntlet or the Spiky Buff, for example, and also of course the Earthquake Boots. So I'm deciding, I don't know if I want to put it in not too strong or quite alright, because it is quite alright, but it has to be combined with the Giant Gauntlet in order to be good. In combination with the Giant Gauntlet, it is insanely OP, but on its own, it is really not too good. So I think I'll put it in not too strong, but you do have to mention, in combination with the Giant Gauntlet, this is absolutely OP. It is a terrifying combination for a base. Most of the times you're going to use other hero equipments on your Barbarian King and not the Giant Gauntlet anymore. The Giant Gauntlet used to be very good, but not anymore currently. The current meta for like Root Riders or just any strategy, dragons as well, is just a different combination, which we will get to a little bit later. Next equipment on the list is the Vampstache, and well, just to tell you, there is a reason why I still have it on level 1 and didn't spend a single ore in this equipment yet. It can be very good in combination with the Snake Bracelet, but in my opinion, it's just too specific. It can only work with dragons, or maybe if you put your king on the outside of the base just to fun a little bit and have him survive a little bit longer. We'll just put it in the useless category, but in front of the Barbarian Puppet. It is not as bad as the Barbarian Puppet. Barbarian Puppet is just completely useless. The Vampstache has a few use cases, but to be quite honest, it's just not worth putting any ores in it. Next and last common hero equipment on the Barbarian King. Before we get to the epic equipments, we get the Earthquake Boots, and I absolutely love this hero equipment. It is so incredibly good with most ground strategies, as well as with air strategies. If you put your king and queen together, the Earthquake Boots can just open up for your queen and they can get so much value, and also in combination with the Spiky Ball, it can take out such a good chunk of the base. I absolutely love this hero equipment. There's a reason why it has been nerfed a few months ago. I use it with almost every single attack I do, so the Earthquake Boots, I would put it in pretty strong. I wouldn't say it's way too strong, because, well, I think the Spiky Ball is what makes it so incredibly strong. But also just opening up the complete core of the base. If you have the Barbarian King in the middle of the base and you use the Earthquake Boots and it opens up everything for example, Super Witches, it can be so incredibly strong. So therefore, if you don't have it leveled, I surely recommend you do so. It is for sure one of the best hero equipments on the Barbarian King, and for sure the best of the 4 common equipments. But now let's get to the Giant Gauntlet, and the Giant Gauntlet is of course the first epic equipment we got in the game. It was such a non-plus ultra for such a long time in Clash of Clans. But currently, I would say it got dethroned by a lot of other epic equipments on the Barbarian King, but still the Giant Gauntlet is incredibly good, especially if you combine it with the RH Vial. Until Town Hall 16, I would say it's currently the best hero equipment on the Barbarian King. But for Town Hall 16 and Town Hall 17, it just got a little bit dethroned. It can be very good in the hard mode. I would say it is pretty strong, especially on lower Town Hall levels. This can absolutely tear apart bases. If you have your Barbarian King sent in a compartment where there is a lot of single target damage and you use the ability in combination with the RH Vial, it will just destroy everything, especially the splash damage makes it so incredibly strong. So if you don't have it leveled and you're below Town Hall 16, I would recommend you level it for sure, because it can absolutely tear apart bases. Next hero equipment we got for the Barbarian King, the epic hero equipment, was the Spiky Ball, or is the Spiky Ball, and this hero equipment is just so incredibly strong. It was under the radar for such a long time once it came out, but people just discovered it by the time and discovered how incredibly good it can be. Because just take a look, it's 8 bounces and each of those projectiles does 3000 damage. In combination with the Earthquake Boots, it will one-shot almost every single defense. Before the nerf, it could actually one-shot almost every single defense except for the Eagle Artillery. It is not too overestimated to put it in the way too strong category. I think it deserved that. It absolutely did. Where is it? Where is the... Hello, am I blind? I haven't included the Spiky Ball in this tier list. Give me 1 second. We are back and we have the Spiky Ball in the list, and we can put it on the way too strong category. It of course got released with the Clash of Holland event. It was under the radar for such a long time, but currently it is for sure, I would say, the best hero equipment we have on the Barbarian King is if you combine it with the Earthquake Boot, it is just so incredibly strong. So S tier it is. Last hero equipment for the Barbarian King and the last epic equipment for the Barbarian King is the Snake Bracelet, which got released a few months ago, and it is quite an interesting one. It is of course the first passive ability we got for the Barbarian King, or well, the first passive epic equipment we got for the Barbarian King, and it can be quite strong if you're not facing any splash damage. It can be a incredibly good hero equipment if you combine it with, for example, the Spiky Ball or with the Vampstache. It is for sure very, very solid. I wouldn't say it is on the same level as, for example, the Giant Gauntlet or the Spiky Ball, but it can be still very good in some situations if you put your Barbarian King on the outside of the base with Root Riders or with Dragons just to funnel a little bit. It is still a little bit situational, so I would say it's quite alright, but depending on what strategy you have, it can be pretty strong. But I think the quite alright tier is quite alright for the Snake Bracelet. And that now brings us to the Archer Queen, where the first equipment you get on the Archer Queen is the RH Puppet together with the Invisibility Vial. But the RH Puppet is just the same scenario as with the Barbarian Puppet. it just really isn't that good, and we can instantly put it in the useless category. I upgraded it 2 times to level 17 just because it was overflowing on shiny ores. But if you're not overflowing on shiny ores, just completely ignore it. Don't spend any ores on this equipment, please. However, what you can spend ores on is the invisibility vial. The invisibility vial, it can be quite alright if you combine it with the frozen arrow. On, for example, a queen shard, it can be really strong. Queen shards, of course, are still very viable on the lower townal levels. On the higher townal levels, however, the invisibility vial just isn't that good because, well, queen charges are just completely dead. And of course, you have different hero equipments which are incredibly good on the higher townal levels. The invisibility vial is not one of them. But depending on what townal level you are, and depending on what strategies you use, the invisibility vial can be very strong. I will put it in a quite alright tier because I think it is for sure quite alright. Depending on what strategy you use, it can be very strong. But also on the higher townal levels, townal 15, townal 16, townal 17, it is just really not strong compared to the other hero equipments you have. Next up on the list is the giant arrow, and the concept of this hero equipment is just completely strong. Especially if you use dragons, you can just snipe out 2 of the air defenses, snipe out an air sweeper. Also, it is the perfect counter to invisibility bases. You can just lure the invisibility tower with this hero equipment, with the giant arrow. I would say on invisibility to tower bases, it is a must use. And also if you're using dragons in Legends League, it is a must use. So therefore, even though it's a common equipment, I will put it in a way too strong category. It is such a strong hero equipment which you can use in almost every single attack strategy, just to take out sweepers, take out an invisibility tower, take out air defenses. With air strategies, you have to use it. With ground strategies, it can still be very strong, and you basically have to use it in Legends League. Because if you're facing an invisibility tower base and you don't have the giant arrow equipment, then it's basically instantly over for you, even though you use a ground strategy like Root Riders. So giant arrow S tier for sure. And it already brings us to the last common hero equipment for the Archer Queen, which is the Healer Puppet. And this one is also incredibly strong, just like almost every single hero equipment on the Archer Queen. If you're using the giant arrow, you basically have to combine it with the Healer Puppet. If you don't have it maxed out, I for sure recommend you do it, because getting those 3 extra healers for sure does make a difference in your attacks. And I will say, Healer Puppet, is it way too strong or is it pretty strong? I would say it's pretty strong. It's not way too strong, but it's still pretty strong, and you should have it maxed out if you haven't already. It is for sure a great choice in almost every single attack strategy, no matter if you're using dragons, no matter if you're using root fighters. It is always a solid choice, so therefore maxing it out is for sure very beneficial. And that now brings us to the first epic equipment we got for the Archer Queen, which is the Frozen Arrow. And the Frozen Arrow is also a very, very strong hero equipment. It is okay to level it. I don't know which was the last time when I used it, because on the higher tunnel levels with the attack strategies I use, so for example, I use a lot of root fighters, I use a lot of dragons. Just the other hero equipments, for example, the Giant Arrow as well as the Healer Puppet, are just generally better. But of course, I do have to say the Frozen Arrow is really not bad, and it can be very good with a lot of attack strategies. So I think it is also okay to put it in a pretty strong category, which I think will be filled with a lot of hero equipment. And the Frozen Arrow, I personally do not use it too much, but if you want to level it, if you like it, it is for sure a great choice to max out. Next one on the list for the Archer Queen is of course the Magic Mirror. And the Magic Mirror is such a strong epic equipment. I use it with almost every single attack strategy, no matter if I'm using ground attack strategies or air attack strategies. The Magic Mirror can just help the Archer Queen take out so much more of a base, especially if you have it maxed out. You get 2 of those clones. The clone duration is 30 seconds, and those clones of course also do a ton of damage. They really do a ton of damage. They can distract a lot of defenses. It is just, for me personally, my favorite hero equipment on the Archer Queen. So therefore, I think I will actually put it in a way too strong category. I think having 2 clones, it is just incredibly good. If you don't have it maxed out and don't have the 2 clones, I can for sure recommend you do so, because it is such a strong and fun to use epic equipment for the Archer Queen. Last hero equipment on the list for the Archer Queen is of course the action figure, the newest edition, and I can already say it has carried me through so many attack strategies so far. It has carried me through so many attacks so far, because on level 21, which is the cap for hard mode, it still has 12,500 HP, which is just such an absurd amount. It does 500 damage, it does splash damage, it is such a strong unit, and it perfectly tanks on the back end. If you use the ability, it can really help you actually take out a base which you would have else not taken out. The action figure is a very solid choice, because it has such a strong troop. It can tank perfectly for your heroes, it can distract so many defenses. So I actually think it has way too much HP, it does way too much damage, so the way too strong category is for sure a very fitting one for the action figure. If you don't have it leveled already, I can only recommend you do so. But of course, it's relatively new. If you don't have the hero equipment, the ores for it so far, I can completely understand. I'm very glad I did, because so far it is still very strong and should help you get a lot of 3 stars in Clash of Clans. Next hero on the list is of course the Minion Prince, and the Mirror Minion Prince has a whole lot less hero equipment, so it will be relatively easy to rank these of course. Starting off with the Henchmen Puppet, and the Henchmen Puppet is really easy to underestimate. I have leveled it to level 17. I just don't bother to max it, because most of the times I just play hard mode attacks where my hero equipment is capped to level 15 anyway, so upgrade it to level 15 just to use it. And those henchmen are just incredibly easy to underestimate. They have so many hit points to do quite a ton of damage. It can really help you get a lot of damage, and also it is really nice to tank for your dragons as well as to tank for your Minion Prince. It can help you take out quite a good chunk of the base which you else wouldn't have been able to take out. So therefore, I would say the Henchmen Puppet is... Do I put it in quite alright, or do I put it in pretty strong? I think I'll put it in pretty strong, especially if you have seen our sneak peek video for when this hero equipment came out on the lower Town Hall levels. So for example, Town Hall 14, Town Hall 13, Town Hall 12. Using clone spells on top of these henchmen can be incredibly solid. It is such a fun attack strategy, and on the higher Town Hall levels, Town Hall 16, Town Hall 17, it can still be incredibly strong. So therefore, leveling the Henchmen Puppet is for sure a very solid choice if you like using the Minion Prince. Next one on the list is the Dark Orb, and let's just make it quick. The Dark Orb is just by far the strongest hero equipment in the game, in my opinion. It is currently the best hero equipment in the game. It is so incredibly strong, and it's also the reason why it's actually valid to use the Minion Prince with a ground attack strategy. If you're using Root Riders, there is of course the attack strategy where you use Root Riders in combination with a Minion Prince. It makes absolutely no chance why it is valid to use a air hero with a ground attack strategy. But it does make sense if you take a look at the Dark Orb. The Dark Orb is just such a very strong hero equipment. I think it's way too strong. If you haven't maxed it out already, you for sure should. I really recommend you to completely max it out. It is for sure by far the best hero equipment we currently have in the game. And that brings us to the Metal Pants, which is the next hero equipment on the list for the Minion Prince. And the Metal Pants on its own, it's quite a solid hero equipment. It is actually quite strong, but the problem is it is just so hard to combine with the Dark Orb. And the Dark Orb, of course, which I already told you, it is a must use. If you're using the Minion Prince without the Dark Orb, you're for sure doing something wrong. But of course, some attack strategies also use the combination of the Noble Iron in combination with the Metal Pants, which is also the only viable combination with the Metal Pants. It is just such a hard hero equipment to combine with other Minion Prince hero equipment. Still not a good idea to completely max it out. I did on the first day because I was a little bit stupid. I thought it was completely strong. Then I tried it out a little bit and I just quickly found out that it is really hard to combine with other hero equipments on the minion prints. So therefore, I think it is quite alright. It is not pretty strong. It is quite alright. If you have the equipments, if you have the ores to use, it is for sure a good choice to max it out, especially if there is a few more hero equipments which will come for the minion prints. Especially, we will of course get a few more epic equipments for the minion prints as well in the future. Who knows when, but hopefully those equipments will be easier to combine with the metal pants, actually making the metal pants as strong as it deserves to be. So if you have the ores for it, you can for sure level it, but currently it is still a little bit useless. But I think in the future, if you have hero equipments which are actually good to combine with it, it can be pretty strong, and it can maybe even be game-breaking strong. Okay, probably not, but still it can be quite strong. So if you have the ores for it, you can level it, but so far it's still not too good. Last hero equipment for the minion prints is of course the Noble Iron, which we got a few updates back. And the Noble Iron, it can be quite strong, to be honest. It can be very solid, especially if you combine it with the Angry Jelly. It can be a very, very strong hero equipment because it will just snipe out a few defenses before joining your dragons or your main force. I think for ground attack strategies, it is not too good, but for air attack strategies, it can for sure help funnel, and then it will join your main force. I think it is quite alright. It is not too strong, so therefore, if you like using it, you can upgrade it. But I think your priority should first be on the Dark Orb, and then of course on the Henchmen Puppet. That now brings us to the Grand Warden, where we of course once again have 4 common equipments and 2 epic hero equipments this time. Starting off with the Eternal Tome, and the Eternal Tome, even though it has been in the game since the Grand Warden has been released, it is still by far the strongest hero equipment or the strongest ability for the Grand Warden. But still, even though it got nerfed and a few seconds got taken off the ability, it is still such incredibly strong. And I think, well, yeah, I do think I'll put it in the way too strong category. It's just basically a must use. If you don't have it maxed out, just do it. It makes such a huge difference. Those 0.5 seconds you get on every single upgrade, it just makes such a huge difference. You surely have to use it, even though it doesn't give any passive equipment or passive abilities for the Grand Warden. It is still such a strong hero equipment, which you should for sure upgrade if you haven't already. Next up on the list is the Life Gem, of course. And the Life Gem, it is a difficult one because the stats you get from it are quite okay, but just if you use a mini warden or an apprentice warden, you just get the exact same ability, just a little bit worse, and also depending on what attack strategy you use, also in better. So the apprentice warden just cancels out this Life Gem, but I think the Life Gem is just really not too strong. It has a few use cases, but generally it is just a little bit useless. It's not completely useless, but just the mini warden or the apprentice warden does the same ability for 20 troop stays in better. But it has a few use cases, therefore not too strong. Category is quite alright. Well, it's a good choice, I think, for the Life Gem. But therefore I will also move the Vampstache one up, because the Vampstache also has a few use cases and isn't completely useless. But all of these hero equipments on the bottom, I just don't recommend spending any ores on it. If you're not completely overflowing on ores, you really shouldn't upgrade them. However, what you can upgrade is of course the Rage Gem. The Rage Gem is very good in combination with Grand Warden Walks. It's very good in combination with the Fireball hero equipment, because of course you can't really combine the Eternal Tome with the Fireball, because that's just a waste of the Eternal Tome. And the Rage Gem, of course, is passive throughout the whole attack as long as the Grand Warden is alive. It is also very strong in combination with Root Fighters as well as Dragons. It is just in general a very, very solid choice if you just want your troops to be a little bit quicker and want them to do just a little bit more damage, as well as, of course, if you're using the Fireball. I really, really recommend you actually max it out, because on a few attack strategies and in a few attacks you will have to use this attack strategy. But if you just want a generally good set of hero equipment you can use on every single attack, it is of course both the books. But if you want a little bit flexibility, you of course have to max the rage gem, and especially if you like using the fireball, it's a must-have. So I would say it's quite alright. It is for sure a good choice to max it out or level it in general, just so you can use it with a few attack strategies if you don't need to heal book, and especially if you're using the fireball, it's a must-have. So therefore, leveling it is quite a good idea. Also common equipment for the Grand Warden is of course the Healing Tome, and the Healing Tome is also such a strong hero equipment. It is always a solid choice to use if you combine it, for example, with the Eternal Tome. If you don't combine it with the Eternal Tome, I don't recommend using it. You always need to combine it with the Eternal Tome, but it's always a very solid choice if you're using ground attack strategies, if you use air attack strategies, especially if you're using any kind of Hog Riders, Super Hog Riders, or just anything in general. The Healing Tome is such a good hero equipment because it can just overheal Inferno Towers. A lot of attack strategies benefit from it, so therefore I can only recommend you completely max it out if you haven't already. The combination of the Eternal Tome as well as the Healing Tome is just a very solid choice for almost every single attack strategy. If you're really scarce on ores and you just want to max out 2 hero equipments for the Grand Warden to always use, these 2 will for sure be the ones, the Eternal Tome and the Healing Tome. You can basically use it, you can always use it with every single attack strategy, and it will always be a good choice. So I can only recommend you maxing it out and spending a whole lot of ores on it if you haven't done it already. And that now brings us to the Fireball, and the Fireball is also a incredibly solid hero equipment. But it is very hard to use because of course you need to put it deep into the base, and you need to use earthquake spells, you need to use invisibility spells to bring the fireball where you want to have it. So for very good players or competitive players, it is maybe even the best hero equipment on the Grand Warden, or I think it will actually be the best hero equipment on the Grand Warden. But it's not too beginner friendly, it's absolutely not beginner friendly. I would put it in pretty strong, or do I actually put it in a way too strong category? I think I will actually put it in a way too strong category, because the concept is of course quite broken. You can take out a whole lot of the base, you can take out a clan culture, you can take out a whole lot of key defenses if they are just clumped up together. So therefore also professional base builders in esports, they really have to watch out not giving too much fireball value. It is completely game breaking. It has completely shifted the base building meta. So therefore I think the way too strong category is quite a solid choice. But of course you do have to notice it is absolutely not beginner friendly, and it has to be combined with the rage gem. But if you just as a beginner or just in general want 2 easy equipments, you can always use Eternal Tome and Healing Tome are the ones to use. But if you like the Fireball, then of course, and if you like Super Witches, then the Fireball is of course something you have to max out. Last one on the list for the Grand Warden is the Lavaloon Puppet, and once again there is a reason why I still have it on level 14. I leveled it a little bit so I can maybe use it in hard mode matches, or well, I was overflowing on ores, so therefore I prioritize the Lavaloon Puppet over the Vampstache. But the Lavaloon Puppet, it is also, if you level it, it's basically a waste of ores. It will be incredibly strong if a new clone level comes out and you can actually clone them. If you can clone 2 of them, which of course needs 46 troop capacity. On the clone spell we currently have, wait, let me look. On the clone spell we currently have a total of 42 clone capacity. So once a new level launches, which actually has a clone capacity of 46, then I think it will be incredibly game breaking. But so far it's completely useless, and I do not recommend you using any or spending any ores into the Lavaloon Puppet until the new clone spell level comes out. Then it will be completely game breaking and it will probably be way too strong. But so far, until then, it is absolutely useless and you really should not upgrade it. Last one on the list is of course the Royal Champion, starting off with the Royal Gem and just make it incredibly easy. Royal Gem, it is completely useless. I have leveled it to level 17 once again, just because I was overflowing on shiny ores, so therefore I leveled it to level 17. but level 18 will just be a complete waste. I have never ever used it since we got the new equipments on the Royal Champion. And it is just so painful to see. Once I see anyone use the Royal Gem, it just hurts me a lot because it is so incredibly bad. Just really do not pump any ores in this hero equipment, please. It just hurts me to see anyone using this hero equipment. It is just really not good. People think it's good, but it really isn't. However, what you can use is the Seeking Shield. Especially in combination with the Rocket Spear, it can be incredibly good because it just can snipe out a few defenses. If you don't combine it with the Rocket Spear, it is completely useless. If you combine it with the Rocket Spear, it can be quite alright. I wouldn't say it's too strong. I would say it's quite alright. It is good in combination with the Rocket Spear. Well, it's the must-use combination with the Rocket Spear. I also get a lot of pain if people are using the Haste Vial combination with the Rocket Spear. It's just incredibly painful to see. So very important to note, it is incredibly the combination of Rocket Spear as well as Seeking Shield is strong with Dragons, it is strong with Root Fighters, it is strong with basically anything. But if you combine the Seeking Shield without the Rocket Spear, for example, if you were to combine the Seeking Shield with the Electro Boots or I don't know, the Haste Vial or Hog Puppet, you're doing something wrong. The only combination is the combination of these two. Elsewise, it is completely useless. But because of the combination of the Rocket Spear as well as the Seeking Shield, I would say it is still quite alright. And you can max it out if you like using the Rocket Spear, of course. Next up on the list is the Haste Vial. And the Haste Vial is actually quite a strong hero equipment. It will, on the maximum level, it will speed up your Royal Champion for 10 seconds. It does a 100% damage attack speed increase, and it does a speed increase as well. So therefore, it is a very, very solid choice if you combine it with, for example, Electro Boots, if you do a Spirit Walk, or an Invisibility Walk. If you combine it with, for example, a Hog Puppet, it can also be very strong. But please do not combine it with the Rocket Spear. The Rocket Spear will just go to waste. But still, I would say the Haste Vial is pretty strong. It's very strong in combination with the Electro Boots. It's very strong in combination with the Hog Puppet. On its own, it is really not good because, well, your Royal Champion will just walk into a ton of damage and will just be taken out very, very quickly. But in combination with those two hero equipments, it is very, very strong. That now brings us to the last common equipment we have for the Royal Champion, which is the Hog Rider Puppet. And compared to the Hog Rider Puppet is for sure a very, very strong equipment. It is very, very strong. If you don't have it maxed out, I can only recommend you do so. But it's, of course, you do have to watch out. It is only good. It's mainly only good with ground attack strategies. If you're using Hog Riders, if you're using Root Fighters, or any ground attack strategies, it can be very, very strong. If you like using air attack strategies, I won't recommend you maxing it out. Then I will just recommend you using the Rocket Spear or the Electro Boots. So therefore, if you like using ground strategies, I can only recommend you level it. If you don't, then of course you shouldn't spend any ores on it. Next hero equipment on the list, or the second to last hero equipment, is of course the Rocket Spear. And the Rocket Spear is also a very, very good hero equipment. It is a very solid choice, and I can only recommend you maxing it out. It is very good for ground attack strategies. It is very good for air attack strategies. It's generally just a very good choice, but you do have to watch out. You can only combine it with the Electro Boots, with the Seeking Shield, as well as with the Hog Puppet. With the Hog Puppet, it is not too good. The combination is not too good. With the Seeking Shield, it's very good. And with the Electro Boot is also a very, very solid choice. We still have one more hero equipment on the list, which is the Electro Boots. And the Electro Boots for the World Champion should for sure be your first priority. It is such a strong hero equipment, especially if you use it in combination with invisibility spells. There is a reason why the Spirit Walk is the go-to attack strategy for every single pro. Of course, it is not too beginner friendly. You have to be very good with the timing, with the Fox, with the invisibility timing. Quite hard to get it first, but once you get the hang of it, it is such a strong hero equipment, and it is for sure a must use. It can really benefit all of your attacks. You can take out such a good chunk of the base, then you can recall your Royal Champion, or you can just let your Royal Champion die. and take out the rest of base with your root riders, with your dragons, or just the rest of your troops. It is such a strong hero equipment. I would say it's actually way too strong, even though it already got nerfed. And that brings us to this tier list for all 29 hero equipments. Everything until quite alright. I would recommend you spending your ores on. Of course, the way too strong category should be your priority, then the pretty strong category, then the quite alright category. Anything in the not too strong and useless category, you can just completely ignore. I would recommend you only level it when you actually have the ores to spend on it, or you're overflowing on ores. If you're not overflowing on ores, any of those 7 hero equipments here down in the bottom, just completely ignore them. I would of course really appreciate you liking this video if it helped you out, and also subscribing to our channel to not miss any more content. With that, I would say see you guys soon with the next video. Until then, see ya and bye bye.